Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Cindy Mkuteni, and I am CEO at Kuji Consulting. Welcome to I don't want to say the Let's Drink to That series by Cindy M. It's almost changed tone. Let's call it the couch discussion. So, as promised from our last conversation, I did promise to discuss the rare earths, global supply and demand, and I intend to do just that. So before I open up my write up that I'm going to read to you, I'm just going to paint a picture of what the discussion is going to entail. So, we are going to talk about the global supply and demand of rare earths. We're going to discuss the industries that are the consumers of rare earths production and processing. We are going to discuss the top three producers of rare earths. We're going to discuss the reserves of various countries and also investment into Africa in relation to rare earths. Now, rare earths in its nature, it's just a beautiful name to be given. If anything, if I'm to spiritualize it, I would say that it is an affirmation of the grace of God, isn't it? And of course, I'm not going to go into religion, respecting religious beliefs across the globe. But indeed, rare earths are exactly that. They are rare in some parts of the world. They are prominent in other grounds of the world. And in others, they can only depend on refining and production of the end product, which would be ready for market. So we're also going to look at, as I said, industries that particularly your wind turbines and the EV space that consume the robust magnets that are derived from rare earths, minerals, or elements, rather. So I'm going to move into the space of deliberating and just reading to you what I had written. And of course, I used some AI intelligence to put it all together. But I really appreciate how Grok is able to take my creative writing and just keep it and understand that it's creative writing. That's absolute intelligence, I think. And of I'll tell you a little story before I continue. So when I started doing this research writing and reading of different articles and following on Fitch Solutions BMI data, it's always been, so what do you call creative writing, and it's always brought me exceptional joy to participate and play my part in the network of deliberations, thought leadership on various discussions. However, I also quite recently, I've started to apply the power of AI. Though I felt, my creative writing has really been one of the best parts of this exercise. I think this is, you consume all this information and you put it into specific context and you attach an interesting topic to it and write as it comes. I think that for me is the fun aspect of doing this, because just reading facts, it does not cut it. So you'll realize that the first part has that creative writing aspect, poetic writing aspect, and the rest of it is going to be much of detail. So I will try and just hone on it, um, and also just refer that um, it is inspired by BMI data. So I have titled this one The Wind Turbine Energy Blowing Frequencies Towards China Rare Earths Reserves and Global Domination. Uh, this title is focusing on China, and it does not necessarily, you know, scope in the Africa aspect, which is absolutely close to my heart. Um, but that's just how it came, and that's just how it was written. And so I that's the fun moment. And of course, just to make sure that whoever that listens to this video gains the fun poetic aspect of consuming research information, but also receives the facts. So it's a very good balance in that respect. Great. So let's go first into the introduction of which is more of my writing. Um, in the swirling vortex of global energy transition, wind turbines stand as sentinels, their blades slicing through the air like frequencies turned to a higher purpose. Yet beneath the poetic dance lies a stark reality. The rare earth's elements powering these magnets are battlefield of geopolitical ambition. The conspicuous amendments to nature's course tempts nations to fulfill a foregone opportunity, planning ahead of a destined future. Scrupulously designing a rare earths debacle in trade agreements and export restrictions by China and Beijing. We anticipate the course of strategic stand downs or transactional strategies of the United States. This, of course, considers the creative nature of reserves in various countries, settling a new dawn for future harnessing of God's creation. It is clearly stipulated that the top three producers of rare earths stand poised to either excel in the mining part of the value chain, the processing or refining within the value chain, or indeed the manufacturing of the finished product. These products are not limited to wind turbines and EVs, inclusive of technology used in robotics and beyond. We embrace the quality of rare earths derived from China and Malaysia, Myanmar, both strict in light or heavy rare earths. You'll understand there's different types of rare earths, and different rare earths, whether light or heavy, are of demand in the various industries. Let me continue. The big question rests in the future of Africa as independent participants in rare earths processing and refining. This is a space where China dominates at 90% globally, harnessing the leader role in supply chain and creating uncertainty of supply in Europe and in the United States. Domestic consumption is key to discuss, depending on infrastructure development, construction projects, wind energy turbine projects, and EV manufacturing, which position demand globally with an anticipated deficit to supply. So we're obviously expecting the forecasts as per BMI research is anticipating a high demand versus a very restricted supply and complex supply chains, particularly because China happens to be dominating the space. So trade relations are going to be very critical between the various countries. Everyone has to be making friends with China if they are looking to expand their wind turbine energy space and prominent on EVs. So, of course, we know that Trump has had a conversation with the dominance in the space, but also they've had conversation with Ukraine on critical minerals, and there's agreements in place there. So he is kind of well ahead of what is anticipated, even though, according to research, and this is of course not written, but even though according to research there is a strong, let's say, drive towards ensuring that the U.S. is there's a protectionist strategies that assist the U.S. to retain its demand surplus based on the projects that they have in country. We also envision, if I do remember, Canada having multiple projects that are going to create the demand for rare earths. So let me continue. Maybe all of this is further on in my write up. Let's continue the couch conversation. Okay, so where are we? The big question I have read the global supply securities of the US may be protected by the various strategic decisions taken by Donald Trump, overriding some of the Biden's administration. The trade deal between the US and China may unlock opportunity as well as Ukraine's critical mineral deal signed with Trump office. Which may save the day. Oh, I love this. Okay, so this part is my writing. Okay, I just realized that it really kept. We tackled yet again Africa's participation and the strategy to ensure that Africa is not only ex Africa does not only access the EU flagship by but boldly takes the helm of investing towards rare earths refining. This does not overlook the current projects in South Africa, Angola as a key emerging site. In closing, the AFCFTA is a key feature to ensure that FDI flows from the EU for rare earths refining and mining projects should be considered for local consumption between various countries. It's also expected for mining policies to align in the African region for the sole purpose of uniting efforts to command the factors. Now, this is a very important deliberation about the AFCFTA. And so when I went on to just revisit commentary from the South African Mining Office, I realized that our Gwede Mantashe has similar sentiment. And I thought to myself, I really thought I was the brain here. No, because as I was reading, I thought, reading through the Fish Solutions data and various sources, I thought to myself the AFCFTA. So when I did my write up, I had already anticipated, wanting to know more about this, how it all fits in, and how the AFCFTA can be beneficial within these trade agreements or investments that come from other countries. So we are well aware of the projects, that Palabora project and the Steenkampskral project, where there's going to be that mainly funded by the EU. So yeah, when I realized that you know Guedes commentary incorporates, I thought, great minds think alike. All right, so we're going to move on to China. Unraveled grip, the frequency of domination. Now, this is purely our grok counterpart. Do enjoy the facts. Okay, China's dominance in rare earths is no mere coincidence. It's a symphony of strategic mastery, according to BMI's October 2025 report. China accounted for 68% of global mine supply in 2023 and controls nearly half of global reserves, per the United States Geological Survey. The Bayon Abo complex in the inner Mongolia exemplifies this as one of the world's largest operations downstream. It's even more acute. China produces 91% of global magnet rare earths output at the refining stage in 2024, as per the International Energy Agency. This stranglehold fuels security jitters with wind turbines requiring neodymium, which is the NdPr magnets, for efficient energy conversion, blowing frequencies of dependence towards Beijing. Mackenzie Global Material Perspective. So I asked for some reference in other research material. Mackenzie's Global Material Perspective 2025 reinforces this, noting that demand for rare earths in magnets will triple by 2035 amid the energy transition. Offshore wind projects facing higher wind speeds and harsher conditions demand more robust magnets, increasing the rare earths elements needs by 8% annually through 2026. And that's per, I see Mackenzie has also quoted BMI forecast, and this article was published quite recently. So I'm going to just skip a few facts here that I don't know if they would mean much. Market share. Okay, so China is about, okay, let me just, global mine production is set to rise 0.5% in 2025 and 4.8% in 2026, driven by China and the US, but the market remains in deficit. And this is, I think I mentioned this in my discussion introductory conversation in the beginning. BMI predicts the NdPr prices at $67,000 per ton in 2025 and 75,000 in 2026. I really do not want to sound like those BMI presenters. This is meant to be fun and exciting. I'm going to skip through all the gory details. Okay, so the key rare earth producers estimates market share. So China, we're looking at 68% mining and refining, Myanmar 12%, rare earths elements, and then Australia and the US following. So that is quite an interesting hierarchy there, the jump from 68 to 12% market share. And that's interesting. So very interesting as well that I wanted to highlight. So of course, just to mention that Fitch Solutions will give an overview of everything. I mean, they've gone through quite a strong detail, but I have taken on the key aspects of our conversation, which revolved around the strategies of the US, the dominance of China, the investment of Africa from other foreign countries, and it has all come to what I'm presenting to you. But there's quite a lot of detail that I've excluded. Otherwise, we would be talking for a very long time, or I would be discussing this for a very long time. So, the US policy transactional shields and defense acts, the US counters with an interventionist approach, leveraging the Defense Production Act. Okay, the legislative tool invoked in 2025 funds domestic projects. This is good. MP Materials Mountain Pass Mine in California. I think I wanted to speak more about the strategies. They did mention interventionist approach, okay, which is, transactional strategies that Donald Trump, yeah, and of course that Defense Production Act to mobilize resources, the legislative tool invoked to fund domestic projects. So there's various ways that the United States is looking to invest in the rare earths sector, or rare earths dominance or production in country on the for the domestic projects, but also from a point of import. There's that trade relations that are being built, and also I think the transactional aspect of viewing the success of managing demand for local or domestic projects is very key for the United States. It is quite far from competing directly with China, but with all these various relations that have trade relations and the Ukraine relation. And of course, you can think Ukraine has in itself, hopefully when this war between Russia and Ukraine comes to a stall, we can start experiencing, um, well, the relationship between Ukraine, the U.S., depending on where they're going to support infrastructure development projects that are going to be dependent on specific rare earths, and the construction aspect of just rebuilding the various cities. Construction also has quite a standing demand for steel. Let us move on to spoken a lot, didn't I? So, if you talk about Europe vulnerabilities and Africa investment, we have spoken about this. Europe Critical Raw Material Act aims to reduce supply chain vulnerability through production, import diversification, and recycling. Approved in 2025, it ensures 10% domestic extraction, 40% processing, and 15% recycling by 2030. The European Commission greenlit projects in EU and key partners, including major domestic initiatives like Kanawag magnet factory in France and rare earth separation plant in Poland. Yes, these were the two, and the Swedish project. Now, we're not going to go into the nitty gritty, except to know Europe in itself as well is looking to strengthen its securities for rare earths, to make sure they have enough that would sustain their greenlit projects. That, I mean, we all know Europe has invested heavily in renewable energy, and so it is all this balancing act of ensuring there's based on the projects that are visible in various countries in Europe. There's going to be supply, and also, of course, in other aspects of having to import various refined rare earths, that or magnets, that there's alignment to continue projects to finality, and ensure that their green projects are successful. Their green projects are, that's my battery. Their green projects are not left in, what's the word? They are not left in, isolation is not the word, but that they're not catered for, basically. So let's move on to the AFCFTA role, harnessing Africa's policies. AFCFTA policies promote regional coordination for green minerals, defining standards for responsible investors, and harmonizing ESG norms. For EU projects, it encourages inter Africa trade, eliminating tariffs on goods. Yet, no direct AFCFTA reference in EU deals. Question to be thought. It's more a call for African states to leverage it for industrialization. This could unite efforts, ensuring FDI flows support refining, not just the mining. I liked the there's a term that Minister Gwede Mandashe said. He calls it pitch to port, you know, the pit to port. I don't see it now, but I just remember it. Pit to port. So that ending that pit to port, that where Africa can start participating in the refining of rare earths, before export at the least. And so this is the end of our conversation this evening. I hope we have learned something, and we anticipate or rather maybe not anticipating, we've learned and we can align our efforts. If you're a business person, you can align your efforts, and you particularly operating in the space of renewable energy, to understand the challenges that are facing your industry, whether it be at end user level, or it be in anywhere in the value chain. It is important to understand where the sector is going, the challenges anticipated, if geopolitics are not resolved, if economical trade relations are not sorted, and if we, if however your industry may be affected. And of course, if you're in the market, trade space, and you trade in rare earths, it's important to understand the expected fluctuations, price pressures, change in price, demand and supply, to understand how best to position your trades, or anticipate what trades are expected to look like in the future, to ensure that I know there's a lot of robotics in trade now, where the robot is able to trade on behalf of, but the actual trade specialists. This is critical information, and of course, we all know how to find BMI, but you also know how to find this video, and hopefully it becomes value to your industry, as a business person, as an investor. It is bye for now. So thank you all for listening on a Saturday evening. This was quite fun to do, and yeah, we are looking forward to 2027. I believe 2027. This is when the Africa projects, South Africa, Angola. I believe those refining projects for Africa are going to be yielding fruit in 2027. So we are looking forward to one of the first successful refining plants for from the continent. Even though, there's, yeah, I'm not going to go into that, but I believe, not I believe, but as per research, the the rare earths raw mineral is may not be at the quality of global consumption, and that is a big question. I had not researched that particular commentary detail as it was highlighted. So it is worth looking into, and perhaps in our next conversation, I can dwell in on that. I think it can be a topic on its own. If we are going to have our first success in the refining space, in the mining sector, we should at the least be competitive on quality, competitive on output, competitive on price to the rest of the world, to China particularly. And any machinery or technology that China is using, we can meet a source that China is leveraging. I believe Africa can compete. No reason, if we are extracting the same quality, for the refining to be of less quality. I can't debate that now, but it's certainly one core factor to further discuss, to further research, and then I'll bring it to the couch. So I thank you all for listening and for joining in, and it is bye for now.